The FBI continues its investigation into the deadly shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. There are close eyes watching the director of the agency, Kash Patel, who's faced increased scrutiny over his handling not just of this case, but his job overall. Back with us, Rob D'Amico, Rachel Bade. Rob, I want to get to you first. There's a lot of reporting out there and also public statements from pretty influential conservative figures that Patel's behavior has eroded trust in the Bureau and his ability to do this job. What are you hearing within FBI ranks right now?
When Kash Patel first took over the Bureau, there was a lot of agents that wanted change, that saw that the Bureau was going ways that they hadn't seen in a while, and they wanted it back, so to speak. And a lot of them were retired or senior agents, and they wanted to give Kash Patel a chance because his qualifications were coming up as lacking in that ability. Everything I saw, LinkedIn, Facebook groups with FBI, some were against it, but the majority were like, "Hey, give him a chance." And what I see now is that is eroding heavily within current FBI and former FBI. And the current ones it actually started eroding quicker because the firings and some of the other things that were going on that they heard internally. The retired ones who have friends that they talk to in the Bureau, I think we're still giving a chance. And I think the firing of Driscoll and the other ones, and Driscoll's a friend of mine. He was HRT commander. He's on HRT when I was there. Very well respected. When they were fired without due cause, even the Agent Association, the Society of Former Agents came out with formal letters. And I think that really was a big step for everyone to say, wait a second, these people are patriots. They've been doing their job. And I just don't think that they understand how an agent can still work, can have certain political views, but it doesn't involve their work. There was some of that in there, but I don't think they could think someone working on the January 6th trial or one of the trials on Trump actually was in support of Trump. But you're told to do a job, you're FBI, you're apolitical, and you do it. I don't think they can comprehend that. I think they thought anyone working on that was anti-Trump, and they're not. Some of the people he fired were extremely conservative in their personal beliefs. But you just didn't know that at work. You never really talked politics. So I really think it's eroding. I think we've hit that, and I think now what you saw with the post on X that he's in custody and having to take that back has now, spread that maybe questioning over to the White House and other folks.
And Rachel, that's why I want to bring you in. Last night, our colleague Ryan Riley had some really interesting reporting that Patel was at Rao's, this very fancy restaurant in New York City, the night of the post. So Patel tweeted at 6:21 that the subject in Kirk's killing was in custody. He tweeted at 7:59 that the, quote, subject in custody has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. The restaurant opens at 7 p.m. If the FBI and the rank and file is concerned a little bit about Patel, how he has operated over the last few days, how is the president and how is the White House taking this in? Because one thing Donald Trump hates to be is embarrassed by by folks that work for him.
Yeah, definitely doesn't like to be embarrassed, and these are not good looks.
Yeah.
I can't speak directly to what Donald Trump thinks about him right now. I can tell you that there are some people in the administration who are definitely frustrated. And I think Kash Patel, he's feeling it right now. And you can see it in the reporting. I mean, there was this great nugget in a New York Times story yesterday or day before about how he erupted and yelled at 200 agents across the country who were working on this case because he said they didn't tell him that there was a picture of the suspect, even though apparently it was in his briefing stuff the whole time. But in a lot of ways, he's going to have to look in the mirror here because he cleaned house and he got rid of a bunch of experts who had been at the FBI for a long time, who had a lot of experience working on counterterrorism cases, domestic counterterrorism cases, specifically the one who was running the Salt Lake City office. And there are consequences to that when you get rid of people like he did. That's going to impact the investigation. And obviously, it wasn't the FBI that nabbed this guy. It was that they released the photos, and the father of this man was the one who helped turn him in. So look, they're going to have to contend with this, and it's not a great look.
Rachel, just to put a finer point on it, Patel wasn't at just any restaurant. Rao's is one of the notoriously hardest restaurants to get into. So there's a whole exclusivity part to this story that I find interesting. But Eugene asked you about Patel standing within the White House.
Sure.
But what about Patel standing within the right-wing base of the party? I mean, this is a base that is still very upset about what has happened or not happened with the Epstein file. So could we be seeing what Patel is doing as a reaction to try to win back their favor or to get them to get off his back?
He's absolutely seen an erosion with support with the base. I mean, this is a guy who was a hero for MAGA world, a podcaster out there talking before, Trump took over. Was back in the White House talking about the Epstein files. And as you mentioned, he's already been getting grilled on the right because of that. And people sort of feeling that they're not being transparent about what went on with Epstein. Add this on top of that. And yeah, people are not happy. And you can see it if you look on Twitter at a lot of conservative commentators on Twitter who are saying it's time for us, people who support the Trump administration, to have a discussion about whether he's the right person to lead the FBI. So will it matter, I guess, is the question. It didn't matter with Attorney General Pam Bondi. I mean, we saw even more heat from her regarding Epstein, and the president stuck with her. So all that really matters is what Donald Trump thinks. And it's not yet clear if Trump would be displeased with him. At this point, they're still putting out statements for a lot of these stories saying that they're with him.
And I think in that same New York Times story that you were talking about, it was in that story that it was noted that when the president was talking about, I think it was the capture of the suspect, he mentioned everybody, particularly Pam Bondi, but didn't mention the FBI director.
Ooh, that's really interesting.
Rachel Bade, Rob D'Amico, thank you both very much for coming to The Weekend.